The CLT's background started by a British linguist, David Arthur Wilkins, who proposed a functional or communicative definition of language that could serve as a basis for developing communicative syllables for language teaching. Wilkins attempted to demonstrate the systems of meanings that lay behind the communicative uses of language. He described two types of meanings: notional categories, concepts such as time, sequence, quantity, location, and frequency, and categories of communicative function: requests, denials, offers, and complaints. Wilkins expanded his 1972 document into a book titled Notional Syllables, which had a significant impact on the development of CLT. Then the Council of Europe incorporated his semantic communicative analysis into a set of specifications for a first-level communicative language syllables. That was the CLT's background. After, in 1980, Cannell and Swain focused more on communicative competence. These communicative competences are in four dimensions: grammatical competence, social-linguistic competence, discourse competence, and strategic competence. Grammatical competence refers to what Chomsky calls linguistic competence and what Himes intends by what is formally possible. It is the domain of grammatical and lexical capacity. Social-linguistic competence refers to an understanding of the social context in which communication takes place, including role relationships, the shared information of the participants, and the communicative purpose for their interaction. Discourse competence refers to the interpretation of individual message elements in terms of their interconnectedness and of how meaning is represented in relationships to the entire discourse or text. And strategic competence refers to the coping strategies that communicators employ to incite, terminate, maintain, repair, and redirect communication.
According with the linguistic Burns in her book Interpreting Communicative Language Teaching, he includes a useful summary of 8 characteristics of communicative language teaching. The first is that language teaching is based on a view of language as communication. That is, language is seen as a social tool that the speaker uses to make meaning. Speakers communicate about something to someone for some purpose, either orally or in writing. 2. Diversity is recognized and accepted as a part of language developed and used in second language learners and users, as it is with first language users. 3. A learner's competence is considered in relative, not in absolute terms. 4. More than one variety of the language is recognized as a viable model for learning and teaching. 5. Culture is recognized as instrumental in shaping speakers' communicative competence in both their first and subsequent language. 6. No single methodology or fixed set of techniques in precedent. 7. Language use is recognized as serving educational, interpersonal, and textual function, and it's related to the development of learners' competence in age. 8. It is essential that the learners be engaged in doing things with language. That is, that they use language for a variety of purposes in all phases of learning. One major feature of communicative language teaching is pair and group work. This type of work is suggested to encourage students to use and practice function and forms. That helps the students to become more independent and to accept responsibility. The role of the teacher. The role of the teacher is a facilitator and monitor. He or she has to do that students try to let mistakes possible. The teacher has two main roles. The first role is to facilitate a communication process between all participants in the classroom and between test participants and the various activities and text. The second role is to act as an independent participant within the learning teaching group. The latter role is closely related to the objectives of the first role and arises from it. This role implies a set of secondary roles for the teacher, first, as organizer or resources and as a resource himself. A third role of the teacher is that of researcher and learning with much to contribute in terms of appropriate knowledge and abilities.
The following principles of activities in communicative language teaching consist of 6 points. Number 1, make real communication the focus of language learning. Number 2, provide opportunities for learners to experiment and try out what they know. Number 3, be tolerant of learners' errors as they indicate that the learner is building up his or her communicative competence. Number 4, provide opportunities for learners to develop both accuracy and fluency. Number 5, link the different skills such as speaking, reading, and listening together, since they usually occur together in the real world. Number 6, let students induce or discover grammar rules. The rule of instructional materials. We will consider 4 kinds of materials currently used in CLT and label these: text-based, task-based, realia-based, and technology-supported. Text-based materials. There are numerous textbooks designed to direct and support CLT that suggest a kind of grading of sequencing of language practice. Some of these are in fact written around a larger structural syllabus, with slight reformatting to justify their claims to be based on a communicative approach. Others, however, look very different from previous language teaching texts. More recent courses published by international publishers still often cite CLT as providing the methodological framework for the course. For example, Interchange, Fourth Edition, and Four Corners. Typically, this means the use of an integrated syllabus that draws on the Common European Framework of Reference, which specifies outcomes of various language levels, and which includes functions, topics, grammar, vocabulary, and the 4 skills as noted above. Task-based materials. A variety of games, role-play, simulations, and task-based communication activities have been prepared to support CLT classes. These typically are in the form of one-of-a-kind items: exercise handbooks, cue cards, activity cards, peer communication practice materials, and student interaction practice book list. In peer communication materials, there are typically 2 sets of material for a pair of students, each set containing different kinds of information. Realia-based materials. Many proponents of CLT have advocated the use of authentic, from-life materials in the classroom. This might include language-based realia, such as signs, magazine, advertisements, and newspapers, or graphic and visual sources around which communicate activities can be built, such as maps, pictures, symbols, graphs, and charts. Technology-supported materials. Technology provides opportunities for accessing authentic language input, combining text, images, audio, and video. Mm, This includes increased participation on the part of the students, increased access to comprehensible input, increased opportunities for negotiation of meanings, group-based learning since CLT creates a context for interaction, the creation of a social learning environment to promote language learning. We decided to use a PPP activity in using the topic likes and dislikes. We began with some pictures with one of those is a thumb up and a thumb down. We decided to use those pictures because mm, the first one it's related to the one thing that you like to do, and the other with a red color is the things that you don't like to do. And then at the end of of each picture, we decided to use other pictures too to do the connection between the first ones, right? So we have in the first one a blue hand that it means a thumb up. So there are the things that make me happy, make me feel uh, very excited. And the other photograph is about a thumb down, uh, and above we have a kid that according with his face is thinking about the things are boring. Then in the other part we have uh, some pictures and about things that are related with a thumb up, that it means that is the things that I like to do. I began with things by myself, and then I I asked to my students about what the things that they like to do. Oh yes, of course, using strategic competence according to Canel and Swine. Then I have a thumb down, that it means that a thumb down are the things that I don't like to do. And I put a kid playing golf and some characters playing video games. Then I asked them, I asked to my students what are the things that they don't like to do. To continue with the activity, I decided to write some sentences because they are going to analyze and realize the grammar, and they realized that the grammar is focused on likes and dislikes, and they understood that the rule of likes and dislikes is focused on first of all with a verb, with a subject, then we have the verb like, and then we have the other verb with ing and the complement. To be more successful in the vocabulary, we decided to build some verbs that we can use in ordinary life, just like characters said about communicative language teaching. Our activities have to respond according to their lives, to the things that they are around of them. Okay, then I use the verb play, and just like it's a very famous that movie Coco, the Coco's movie. So we decided to do more interesting for them, because this is the most fascinated or the most popular in the children. And okay, in the first vocabulary picture I have Miguel, who is playing soccer. Then we have the Miguel's uncles playing tennis. Then we have the Miguel's grandmother playing basketball. And then his father, his aunt. Okay. Also, we have different activities that don't say it in the same way like playing soccer. We have another like doing skateboarding or surfing. Then we decided to use another verb, that is read, and they also understood that even though they are using other verb like read, um, the formula to use to use it is in the same way: a subject, verb like verb, then the verb in ing and complement. In all the time we decided to ask them if they have questions, um, and trying that they can interact by themselves in pairs. Then we used the verb ride. For example, ride a bike, ride a horse, then cook and watch. In the board, we wrote the sentences because they have to prepare to analyze that all the structures have in the same way, but they have to think that they have similarities and differences. At the end of our activity, we decided to use the material realia based material. Mm, that it means that they have to use things to recognize the vocabulary. So we decided to use this one because it's more interesting for them. They are 8 years old, so they need to to touch it, to and at the same way we used the uh, task based materials. um, they're like game, So we combine the realia and text-based materials because it's more funny for them using the language through games. The last activity was about that they were blind with a scarf, and then they had to touch the balloons, the balls, and they have to recognize what it was the ball according to the vocabulary that we thought in the during the class.